So I see, since PM Deacon Mitchell, Miss Andrea St. Bernard, and Mr. Dolan are hell-bent on deceiving, intoxicating, and misleading the people of Grenada on this Polaris project, I will be the one to shed light and to shred to pieces the nonsensical garbage that is being sprung on the Grenadian people. So I saw a video. Gentleman, he tagged me in the video. My old buddy, old schoolmate in IFE back in the days, tagged me in the video. He says, oh, let me tag Perry. About a young lady, quite emotional young lady. And that is exactly what they want. They want you to be emotional. They don't want you to be reasonable. They don't want you to put on your thinking cap. They don't want you to think critically. They want you to be emotional. Because in that state of emotion, and in some respects, drunkenness, they can deceive you. That's what they do. They're very cunning in some respects. They will rile you up. And once you get riled up, then you stop thinking straight. And then they have you exactly where they want you. It's a pretty good strategy. So I saw the young lady trying to defend this whole Polaris thing. And of course, all her defense are emotional defenses. It's not grounded in logic. It's not grounded in reason, neither critical thinking. So today I'm going to use that vid and I am going to dispel all the myth and misconception and misleading things that this young lady has said and set the record straight so that Grenadians can see through all of this charlatanistic deception. So let's go. Take a look at the vid.
Hello beautiful people, I hope you guys are doing great. I'm still trying to compose my emotion from the service yesterday, the sword turning yesterday. I was so emotional, I cried. I was really happy, very happy to see what is happening in Grenada. You guys are in for a transformation that will blow your mind.
So there you have it. And that is exactly the mission of PM Deacon Mitchell, Andrea St. Bernard, Mr. Dolan, and the rest of the NDC crew, to have you emotional. Okay? This is what all the political theater and theatrics is all about. To get you emotional. To use your earnest ambition and need and want for a new hospital to get you emotional. And once they get you emotional, you stop thinking straight. And they can spring whatever else they want to spring on you. Because you're emotional. You're not thinking with reason and logic. So you're deceived already. They got you. Let's continue. Listen to the young lady.
But tonight, I've been seeing a lot of questions on my post about Project Polaris, and I think it's important to take a moment to address them. I'm trying to pull some of them up right now. I appreciate everyone who's engaging, and I'll take my time from a project management perspective to answer some of your questions and to bring clarity to you.
Well, I'm sorry to say, ma'am, we have not seen that clarity yet. You said you're going to bring clarity from a project management perspective. But I want you to understand, you first have to learn how these projects work from start to finish. That is the only way you can bring clarity to the issue.
We're going to do them one by one as time permits. And at the same time, someone sent me a YouTube link to listen to a young lady, which posed a similar question based on what was asked on the post. So I'm going to read some of the questions and then I'm going to play a short clip from the concern of the young lady. It says here, why spend money before the hospital even break ground? Some also even ask, so you're trying to tell me you are comfortable with all this money being spent before the project even started? Let's take a listen to the clip.
The long strings of things already done, announced by the Minister, Andy Williams, Minister for MIT, all in an effort to defend the spending of $22 million on Project Polaris before even cutting a blade of grass.
Now, honestly, those questions asked exposes, that's for me, I don't know about you, but for me, those questions asked expose a misunderstanding of how serious this project is. That's that, or how project works. To even question why spend so much money prior to makes you wonder a lot of things, because before we even lay a single block, the government must invest. It's inevitable. So in my opinion, here is where I think some of the costs went, and which I would have thought some people would have sat with themselves for a moment and to process those things. The land acquisition, of course we know that's money, and then the legalities behind the acquisition of the land. Oh boy, you know, we have to dot our I's and cross our T's there. Then the partnership, the expertise for the technicalities in regards to the drawing, the landscaping, and once yet we're building a hospital, we need those experts to tell us what needs to go there, where we need to put this, where don't need this. That's what we need for this.
So, ma'am, it is quite clear that you are not familiar with this sort of project and you have not done your research properly. Okay? And I think the issue that these concerned citizens have is not that you don't have to spend money before you have a sod turning, but their concern is the amount of money that is being spent at this very preliminary stage of this so-called Polaris project. Okay? That is the concern people have. And you spoke about land acquisition and legal fees and all of that sort of stuff. And that was even done before that 22 million was allegedly spent. And I see you tried to disingenuously use the little clip from what Jennifer said, but she was saying that the gentleman, Andy Williams, outlined a whole list of things that was done or needs to be done at this preliminary stage. And of course, he was deceptive in what he said, because many of those things aren't even closely or remotely done yet. So let me just break it down for you a little bit and add some clarity for you. And hopefully you see this video so you understand why people are concerned. Okay? At this stage, all you have is a concept plan which represents 1% of the final architectural plans needed to get this built. So to have some sort of sword turning is in many respects a marketing ploy, pure symbolism, political theater, and is premature. Again, you cannot build anything with a concept plan. It's impossible. You cannot build anything with a concept plan. What you need, and I'll explain to you, to actually construct the building is what you call construction documents. Detailed construction documents. So the concept plan that they showed you in the town hall meeting, it will take months to develop construction documents. Months before you can attempt to actually build this project. When you have construction documents, then you can get a proper bid from a contractor, and he will tell you the actual costs involved in getting this done. Then if you accept his bid and you get into a contract, the contractor will take the full construction documents and he will start to build based on those detailed drawings. You don't even have a basic floor plan yet. What you have is a concept. Okay? So that is why many people are concerned about that amount of money being spent, 22 million, when we know for a fact that 1% concept plans only cost 0.5 EC million. So all of this could be resolved if Miss Andrea Saint Bernard and Mr. Dolan explain and break down the costs associated with this project thus far. But of course, I doubt they would want to do that, because then they will be exposed and they'll have to explain, where did the 21 million go? And as I said, $500,000 for the concept plan. Give them another $500,000 to travel, do whatever. Okay? So you have to explain 21 million. Explain it to us. And then we all will have no issue.
I'll run. So for me, the land must be secured, which happened. The design must be completed, which has been.
The land was secured before all of this announcement of all this money being spent. Okay? So don't try to deceive people. You talk about the design being completed. Ma'am, now I understand that you do not understand anything about what is taking place or how these projects work. So do yourself a favor. Take a look at the videos that I've made on this and educate yourself a little bit, or do some research before you make any pronouncements about this project, because it is quite clear you do not understand what is going on. The design is not completed, ma'am. Okay? What you're seeing in that town hall is 1% concept plans. Okay? 1% concept plans. And there's nothing you can build from that 1% concept plans. Okay? You need schematics. You need up 10%, 15%. Then you need to get to 30% submission. Then you need to get to 60% submission. Then you get to 90% submission, which is advanced detail plans. And then finally, you get to construction documents. Okay? And that will take months to be completed. So it's quite obvious, as I said, you don't understand where you're at in the process. You're not even close to the design being completed. This is only a concept plan. Again, and you have a phone, you're on the internet. Before you start speaking on this subject, I suggest you type up, what is a concept plan? On your phone or on your personal computer. So, what you've just said is totally misguided and is downright wrong.
Financing must be structured. We heard about it. Partnership must be built. So why are we jumping into this? Oh God, we're spending so much money before. No. Let's take it down a notch and understand what's happening.
Oh gosh, girl, you think we don't know what's happening? Of course we know what's happening, girl. Okay? Oh gosh, girl, you think we don't know what's happening? We know what's happening too much. That is why we are careful and considerate about what we do and what we say. Because we do know what's happening. Deception is what is happening. And unfortunately, you do not understand and you do not see what's happening. So again, I suggest, take your time. You the one should slow down a notch and go do a little bit of research. Okay? And then you will understand what's happening.
The sword turning. Here's the important part. The sword turning is not the beginning. It's the moment that the public finally sees what has been carefully prepared behind the scenes. I don't think you all understand the amount of work that gone down prior to the service yesterday. I don't think you all can even imagine the dynamic forces behind that.
Well, of course we understand that. Here you have a little bit of understanding. Okay, the sword turning is not the beginning of construction. It is what I have said. Political theater, theatrics. Okay, it's a marketing ploy. It's symbolism. Okay, because, and of course we saw what we got for spending over 22 million. What did we get? A 1% concept plan that only costs 0.5 million EC. Okay? So, we know exactly what we got. Again, Miss Andrea St. Bernard and Mr. Dolan has a lot of explaining to do to the Grenadian people. Okay? So no amount of deception, no amount of theatrics, no amount of sweet emotional language will detract from this deception that you are springing on the Grenadian people. Because sooner or later, you will have to explain what you did with all that amount of money that you've spent on this project. Okay? And of course, I understand and I know and suspect what you have done. But the unsuspecting Grenadian people do not understand that in some respects, this may be a grand scheme of using the machinations of government, using the earnest ambition of the Grenadian people's need for improved healthcare in a hospital, and ultimately taking advantage of them and deceiving them about this project, while I believe in many respects they are people enriching themselves handsomely off of this project. Okay?
And here's what I would end with. And last but not least, I want to make sure that we understand when we say we are in partnership with an international group of people, the affiliation. Do we understand what that really means? When we're paying for experts and their reputation, here is what comes with it. Their brand, their standards, their clinical expertise, right? We would get access to the systems and protocols, the clinical guidance, treatment protocol, operation systems. We would even have support for our training and support from them. You guys, don't look at this so simple. Quality assurance and accreditation support, because we want international standard. So we think this is just a conversation. This is behind that. No, man.
Is that really the amount of access that we're actually getting from our international partners, Mount Sinai? Young lady, I suggest you take a look again at the arrangement that the government of Grenada has with Mount Sinai. Okay? On top of that, don't get too excited and overrate Mount Sinai. They have their flaws. You should take a look into the fact that they went bankrupt. I don't know if you should be taking advice from people who went bankrupt financially and running a hospital, very important hospital, in the 14th Street Union Square area, Bet Israel Hospital. Okay? And the community there sued them and took them to court, begged them to stay open. And they mercilessly was thinking about the dollars instead of the community. They made a choice, okay? And they decided to close down operation. Should also look into other places where operations might have closed down on Long Island, okay? So, do your due diligence and research before you speak on certain subjects, ma'am.
And here's what I would end with. You don't judge the baker when the dough is rising. You judge the bread when it's finished, right?
You do judge the bread while it's rising. Based on the progress of the rise, you can tell what sort of quality bread that you are going to get. So these little emotional, sensational statements that you're making is not going to distract rational, logical, and reasonable people from actually holding accountable Miss Andrea St. Bernard, Mr. Dolan, and this administration for what I believe is a serious deception being sprung on the Grenadian people. We will continue to expose what is being done. The GSDP, the Grenada Social Democratic Party, this is what we stand for. We are in some respects defenders of the Grenadian people, okay? And on a more personal human level, one of my gravest concern about this whole issue of Polaris and Miss Andrea St. Bernard's association with it is that I fear that it will tarnish in some respects, ultimately, the St. Bernards. And these are remarkable people, industrious people, people who have contributed significantly for decades to the development of Grenada. So, Miss Andrea Chamberlain, you have an opportunity before you, okay? You still have time to dissociate yourself from what is going on over here. And at least to come clean, okay? And be straightforward and honest with the Grenadian people, okay? You owe it to yourself. You owe it to the reputation of the Sembonage, okay? And ultimately, you owe it to Grenada. One of our most gentle, kind, dedicated, and loving teacher at Heinze School back in the days, in our time, was Mrs. Sembonage. I will end up by saying that in some respects, it is disgraceful what the elder statesmen in the community is doing and being part of this pappy show that took place on the 27th. Because these people, I would like to believe, have engaged in capital projects in the past. And by now, in some respects, they should understand a little bit, have an overall understanding of how these things work. But they decided to actually get involved and engage in the ritual of papi show. Okay? Engage in the deception. All right? That is not cool. Mr. Tillman Thomas, I know in your days as former PM, you have done a bit of capital projects. So you should understand how it works. Mr. Integrity, I'm just surprised that you will attach yourself and help in some respects. It seems like by being part of it, that it's like aiding and abetting and being complicit in this shenanigan, in this political theater. Okay? If you love your nation, you will be truthful with your people. And all of you, the other people peripheral to this, you know, I understand that the Gigi felt that she had to be there, okay? But all of you other people who went into that function, knowing fully well, some of you knowing fully well, that this is mass deception and engaged in it, it tells me how much you love your people. And some of you, I know, you're unsuspecting. You don't even have a clue of what's going on. I suggest that you take the time to educate yourself on what is going on. Simple searches, okay? Use your phone, use your laptop, or use your personal computer. What is a concept plan? How long does it take to create architectural drawings for a hospital? Well, you could do that research, right? Just type it in Google. How long does it take to create architectural drawings for a 250-bed hospital? What is a concept plan? What is the design process for building a hospital? Simple research, anything you want to do. Stay off a bit on the gossip, okay? And focus on that. So that way you would not be enticed or emotionally deceived, okay, by Miss Boeing, okay? Because sensationalism is not going to catch you. So if you love our videos, please subscribe, share, comment, and like. And of course, please feel free to support us. This great work and mission requires your help and support. Click on the heart-shaped super thanks. Send us a coffee or something, okay? Your support goes to aid in our efforts to continue to be the voice of reason, goes to aiding and helping us to continue to defend Grenada against charlatans and imposters. So help uns Grenada gegen Charlataner und Hochstapler zu verteidigen und zu befreien. Okay? Help us to defend and liberate Grenada from charlatans and imposters.